This is the second video in a series that continues straight on from the first one. It's going to form the foundation of this video. This video will convey to you an understanding of evil. With this knowledge, we can learn a great many things. Let's begin. Why does evil exist? Short answer, it exists in this world because we want it and allow it to. It exists in general because evil is essentially the opposite of good, and we need both extremes in order to choose for ourselves. You've probably heard the saying, without evil we wouldn't understand good, and there's truth in that. You've put evil as the opposite to good, and we understand things relative to each other. But the opposite action has to always exist so that we can determine ourselves and our life path. Why can we choose evil? Because it's our privilege. Why not remove evil and live in harmony without the possibility to choose evil? Because eventually everyone would be good, and nobody actually wants to be truly good. We all want to play around with our choices. This is a moral dilemma. Maybe you can ask why we are like this. The reality is that we want to be like this. We want to be able to play with our choices, to risk everything in exchange for everything else. More to less, less to more. The only thing that's guaranteed is that we will never be exactly the same again. Time is really just a measure of our fate. What I mean is, time can be seen in terms of our choices. What time truly and honestly is our progression of choice. We are constantly deciding, and time is constantly deciding as well. Time and choice are perpendicular to decision making. If you do not decide, time will decide for you. So you have to decide before time takes your choice away from you. That is why time exists. Time is choice making. You can put maths to it, but it's really just making choice. Evil is only harmful if we choose it. Otherwise, it only exists so we can understand how to be good and figure things out for ourselves. Regarding spirits, you're basically interacting with beings that come together to form your consciousness. You get some clues about this fairly obviously. If you take the time to learn from angels and develop the skills to perceive them, you can come to the conclusion that your intelligence is a fraction of theirs. It's really an unimaginable difference, and yet we're still left to solve our own problems when there's no problem they couldn't solve, and they actually refuse to solve them for us. There's also the fact that they seem to come across as basically everything we are not. They are non-physical, we are physical. They are knowledgeable and we are clueless. They are clearly defined in their associations, and you and I are constantly changing our entire being on the cellular level. The biggest hint is the fact that you and I get comfortable with our current experiences and always hunger for new ones. Our lives would be their new experience. They would come here to be everything they currently are not. Even forgetting what they currently know would be a requirement to live a life like us. The nature of their existence is, almost completely, a polar opposite of ours. The design is basically hinting to you that they can choose to be us. That's the problem. So you can't just wall that off and expect it not to be used against us. The Zoroastrian concept of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds, along with the 7 deadly sins from the Bible, will be used to create a framework of evil. We will then add to this with an additional framework to demonstrate the evil that actually exists. We define sin as the process of assuming you are more than another human. The sins relate directly to evil in almost every sense. The main difference is that sin exists before evil does. Sin exists within thoughts, and evil is the resultant birth of sin. This means evil doesn't have to exist in the world. It's up to us to stop it before it's born. Let's use the example of the sin known as pride. Pride is mainly expressed in 2 ways. Pride in your work, and pride in your accomplishments in justification towards being better than others. Taking pride in your work is perfectly fine. However, using your achievements in the way of justifying an inflated sense of self-importance is exactly the reason the world is considered to be unfairly governed. The mistreatment of people stems from pride. This is expressed in all areas of the world and all forms of governance currently in existence. If you can't handle the weight of your achievements, then lose weight. I digress. The point I'm making is the justification only comes after the sin becomes integral to your reasoning set. It becomes integral when you don't acknowledge the fact that you are human, and so are the people you claim to be superior to. All humans are equal in worth despite being unequal in effort and achievement. This is fundamentally true. Yet, in almost every system that exerts control or influence, you will find basically the entire structure is infested with people that have inflated their sense of self to that which is above humans. Look in the mirror to see your mistake. This is a long drawn out response to sin becoming evil, and this is in line with the process upon which sin becomes evil. You have many chances to correct your behavior with regards to pride. There are mirrors everywhere. Even raindrops can offer a glimpse into your reflection if you look hard enough. The raindrops that stream from the faces of those you mistreat. Clearly, sin results in evil, one before the other. Evil can be defeated before it is even born. It must be born through humanity. It does not exist before the choice to birth it. You may point to circumstances where life is harsh upon which nature is responsible. If you struggle within nature, you build a house pretty quickly. If there are crocodiles in the jungle, you cut down trees to build a house. The guidance is there to better yourself and your family and humanity as a whole. It's not simply to harm you. In instances where conditions seem unnecessarily harsh, understand one thing. Humanity has never been free of evil. It has never been free to become the best version of itself. Heaven is a concept you will discover relates to the earth just as much as life itself does. A possibility as rare as life among celestial bodies. Zoroastrianism posits that this world is a battle of good versus evil. They may be onto something good. We've related evil to sin. There's a clear connection, and removing evil would create good. Evil destroys good, or good destroys evil, but evil gets the first shot. I think that's a really important point to understand the Creator's intentions. It's your choice to be evil in the first place. Granted, people don't have a great understanding of good and evil. Why do you think you can reach beings known as angels and demons? A consequence of either would be an exact representation of good or evil. It's in the interests of evil not to be understood. However, in order to be good, you have to understand evil quite well. That's the reason to wall off non-physical intelligence from the public sphere. Good and evil are not straightforward concepts if you want to master them. For example, helping others isn't always a good thing. Spoon-feeding people answers is a way to hurt them in the long term. You think that's a necessary evil until you realize that our life is basically a sum of choices, and you're setting them up to fail in future circumstances and additionally making their life less meaningful, all by helping them with decisions. So basically, helping and being good are not even the same thing 100% of the time. It's really complicated to understand good with the precision required to know how not to be evil. Relating back to spirits, if I'm choosing to forget everything and come here, then there must be a good reason for this. There has to be a justification. This world isn't good at all. Despite the beautifully brilliant people that are here right now, even they know they are not free to use their beautiful brilliance in order to benefit humanity as much as they truly desire. Be it monetary constraints or simply because they know they would upset too many people. They hamstring themselves and their achievements and resort to a life most lived, the path most taken. They fall in line and simply exist. Most people don't even understand how to be completely good, even if it's just on the level of understanding, before we even get to the actionable step. So we're already in trouble on that front. So you didn't come here for an easy life, that much is certain. But more specifically, what are we suffering for? To battle against sin is a lifetime struggle. If you want to have a pure heart without sin in this world, that's just an astronomical ask. You have to think of us in a way that involves no greed, in a world that glorifies it and basically makes you work your entire life in order for you to say, look at my stuff, look at how greedy I've managed to become. I've earned this greed through years of my life effort. How are people ever going to be able to get past that? That's along with the other 6 deadly sins. In regards to gluttony, we produce more than enough food to feed the entire world's population. Technically, despite greed being promoted and worshipped, gluttony is largely irrelevant, or at least with a minor shifting in priorities. Everyone on earth could be well fed at the same time within a week or two. Clearly, we can create a world that can choose not to promote those 7 deadly sins, or we can create one that does promote them and make it a nearly impossible task to create space in order for humanity to be the best it can be. So the world we have made is against you having a heart without sin. It promotes greed very obviously. I doubt you gave up everything you know just to come here and make money. Let's see if I'm right. There's a book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's based on a study that asks dying people their regrets. Do you know what the number 1 regret is? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. This translates to, I didn't find the reason why I came here. These people tragically were knocking on death's door when they realized they didn't find out why they came here. That's despite probably having a beautiful house, a beautiful family, and potentially a number of accomplishments. It just didn't give them the satisfaction they were hoping for. Granted, these are all fantastic. It's just not what they personally came here to accomplish. This is what I hope to change, to give you a reason to work towards something that will satisfy you in the end. We've just learned that anything less is likely going to leave you with regret. At least, if you're heading in the right direction, you can factor in the reason you came here with all other pursuits. So where do we even begin? We can start with an ideal world. An ideal world would strongly discourage all of the 7 sins so that you wouldn't have to face evil very often, if at all. Nobody's perfect, this is an ideal human world. Even so, there's barely any evil now. Why? Because everybody understands that good is exactly what facilitates the life others want, and therefore that comes all the way back to them. Without so much evil, you're helping others, and very quickly this is coming back to you. Your efforts aren't being destroyed by pissing into the wind against evil. With all this good and a massive lack of evil, not only is this unrecognizable to what we have in our world, you and everybody else are best positioned to try to achieve your most meaningful life at the same time. With regards to jail, you're controlling someone who has done something to somebody else in order to allow the victim to actually have a life that's more meaningful from then onwards, which may extend to the community as a whole. For victimless crimes, it's just the community that has the potential to gain the meaning that you would have tried or succeeded in taking away. So control is justified in some instances as a response to evil. Let's skip to a more specific example. Let's say you want to start a war. You have every necessary condition in order to make one occur. You have the media, financial institutions. Most importantly, you have taken away the ability for others to find their most meaningful life. How? There's 4 basic things required for peace among all people: food, water, shelter, and comfort. Take any of these 4 away, and now you can make people fight for your amusement. With these 4 in existence for all, you can't make them fight unless they actually want to in order to protect their family and people they care about. You can make them care about their country or another country, but at the end of the day, if everyone has those 4 basic things provided, which is very entirely possible, then you shouldn't be able to do that to an effect that would start a proper war at scale. For the people who started the war, they've demonstrated that their meaning is to take your meaning away, whether they realize this or not. If they are trying to send you to war for anything other than your direct family, then they have taken away your meaning and basically replaced it with death or the chance to die. This chance exists in the world for all who do not have these 4 things provided. Is it communism to provide these 4 things and then compete for everything else? Or is it just a world that is very hard to start pointless conflicts for the benefit of a few people? These few people take meaning away from themselves because their life is now based around taking yours away. And eventually, if there's enough conflict, nobody will have any meaning left, including themselves, because there's nothing left to take. If you have a world war, you have the theft of meaning from the world. There is nothing else that needs to be said about world wars. Relating this back to evil, only through good can meaning actually be born into the world. If you take away the people who would birth meaning into the world is less meaningful. And certainly, the people who will facilitate this process aren't going to make up for it. Millions dead for a small group in exchange for monetary and military might, just to be able to do it all over again when it suits them. So with evil, the fundamental basis is to take meaning away. And you take meaning away from yourself because your entire reasoning set is based upon a lack of meaning in general. It's a zero-sum game that relies on good in order to be facilitated. It starts with pride. Somewhere in the middle is a world war. And at the end is the destruction of everything meaningful that made this world beautiful in the first place. To simplify this explanation, when you are evil, you take meaning away from others through the expression of evil, and you take meaning away from yourself because the world exists for everyone to find meaning. It's not a coincidence that everyone can simultaneously find their most meaningful life in an ideal world. That's the goal. That's heaven. You set yourself up for a less meaningful life. You find your most meaningful life by facilitating the same for others. That's before the world made you express evil. Now that you are evil, you're basically not heading towards the life that meant the most to you before this world changed you. Whatever you are heading towards is less meaningful than it was when you had a pure heart free from sin. That was the destination you came for. Anything else in this life would not be the one you chose before you forgot why you came. You can't just take meaning and expect to find the exact reason you came here. Have fun scratching that itch for the rest of your life. Have fun when you're on death's door and you realize I was right. Let me know if you can. Make it your last tweet. This is specifically to the willing side of evil. Your most meaningful life involves facilitating the same for others, or it's just the meaning you adopted after this world put you on a different path. The meaning you want most in this moment is not the same as the meaning you wanted before you chose to forget everything. This is what is meant by following the heart. It's the promise that what came before wants you to be your best. It's from the heart, the same place we instinctually associate with love. I wonder why. If there is no love in your actions, then your heart is off center. You should have carried that feeling forward when you realize where it came from in the first place. There's always time to come back from this so you don't live in regret. You can't unlearn what I've said. It will stick to you like the love of a father sticks to your hand, even though you choose to wave your hand with your own sense of self. In summary, the meaning of this life is to try to be who you want to be. The promise of what came before is that if you follow a pure heart free of sin, this will lead you to the destination that would mean more to you personally than anywhere else. The promise of this design is that everyone can simultaneously have the most meaningful existence together, if this is the goal of humanity, and to make everyone aware of this possibility and how to achieve it. It's not easy. It's harder if you're a victim of war, as war specifically takes meaning away and even makes it hard for you to find a way back to who you were before the suffering. Even so, heaven is real, but it's here for all, or it's uncertain where else it could exist. We must suffer greatly to realize the beauty of our Father's design against people who know exactly how to stand against it. And if you can't see past the suffering, I understand and thank you. You suffered because of them, and it was you instead of me. I hope you find your way back. I'll try my best to make sure you're aware of exactly how and why you suffered in another video. At least now, you understand what was intended and what we've lost. You understand that more than I ever will. I'm truly sorry. If I could trade places with you, I would. Instead, all I can do is tell you the truth and hope you find something to grab onto to find your way back. Your best self, your most meaningful life, is out of reach until you do. The design speaks for itself, and so does humanity. I'd like to discuss the internal battle with evil at the level of thought using examples. This is before evil is expressed in the world. We will use scenarios. We have 7 sins to examine: wrath, sloth, greed, envy, pride, lust, gluttony. Regarding wrath, Someone may have wronged you in your view, and you are now internalizing anger or wrath. Basically, this will cause your mind to try to enact its default reasoning set. You revert back to a primitive set of reasoning which encourages you to solve the conflict as soon as possible by creating space in your physical environment. This in itself is destructive. Usually it will result in physical violence to others and/or yourself. What we need to do here is remember that space can be achieved by walking away, and this also has the added benefit of preventing you from risking harm to yourself. Regarding sloth, this is just laziness. Definitely as it stands in our current world, work is unfairly compensated far too often. We endure for humanity. There are many of us enduring for humanity. If we can endure together, there is nothing that can stop us from coming together in our suffering. You should aim to eliminate sloth for yourself and others. If you eliminate sloth, you will be rewarded in your achievement. Just because someone is compensated better than you, this doesn't diminish your worth. We endure for humanity so that we may rise together. Regarding greed, this is the one most troubling in our current world. Money is glorified, which means bankers are glorified. There's not really much to say about this. This will be an ongoing problem. I can see greed everywhere in the world, everywhere I go. Regarding envy, there is no need to be envious of others. You have the ability to achieve a life of most meaning with the help of our Father. Regardless of what others have, this does not automatically equate to meaning. That's important to remember. They may be more comfortable or have a bigger house, but they will eventually hunger for more achievements. This isn't a case of money won't make you happy. Survival is as much of a justification to obtain greed as it is to obtain money. It's not what they came here for. Regarding pride, this is where you hide behind your achievements when you look in the mirror. If you see what you have done and not what you truly are, you are not fit to judge others. You cannot even judge yourself correctly in this way. We are human. We are together, currently sharing one rock in a space of seemingly infinite rocks. When the day comes that each member of humanity has its own planet to look after, then maybe we can discuss justifications for pride. Until then, it only serves to slow our progress to that end. If you don't see others as equal in worth, you're holding us back from our true potential. I'll be more specific. If you don't value others the same as you value yourself, then you will not be able to live a life of most meaning. Regarding lust, this is a passion for sex and all related concepts. Even sexual advertisements call to the pull of lust. It's a pull. What you need to do is distance yourself from lust until it is productive. In an ideal world that isn't based upon greed, you wouldn't have to struggle so much. It's used against you. This isn't a case of blocking pornography from the internet. Greed has resulted in a lack of equality, which in turn means that people are looking for less meaningful but more easily obtainable escape options to cover up their internalized despair. I'd like to clarify equality. We are not equal in achievement and effort. We are equal in worth. Intelligence is a blessing. Thank our Father for letting you see with a mind that is more clear than others can see with theirs. Regarding gluttony, I want to say that this one has been defeated. Well done to humanity. We produce more than enough food for the entire world's population many times over. Hopefully this continues to be the case. Farming methods are questionable. We are in trouble regarding glyphosate and atrazine. Those need to be stopped. Grassland should become farmland. Everyone can help. In line with understanding evil, we must examine it through the lens of the ego. For this interpretation, we relate the ego to the heart plus sin. More specifically, the heart is the purest form of existence which expresses the true purpose of your life. And then, at the precipice in your defining moments, your decision-making presents the opportunity for the heart to be poisoned by sin. This is the ego as it is expressed in terms of the life path, the soul. We relate the soul here to the most valuable life path in terms of what you personally would desire to live the most. Your decisions formulate your soul, your life path, and the ego is a version of you which seeks to deny your most meaningful life. In this sense, we associate the soul with the battle against evil, a battle against the ego in order to obtain the direction to which your soul would guide you towards. A life path having lived to the fullest is where you will find your soul. On the reverse aspect, your soul is your most meaningful life, the life above all to which you value most. Your self-preservation is an instinct which seeks to preserve your soul. The world we currently have would seek to turn your life path into that which would harm others in order to preserve yourself. This is the struggle of this life and this world. By denying others meaning, you in turn deny yourself the meaning of your own soul. In defense of our Father, the soul is that which can be sold. You are given your most meaningful life to be able to transact it as you wish. The side of evil, as we have associated, is directly responsible for the pursuit of the life path, which means that they are very interested in seeking to obtain your soul. It is instinctively understood that the side of evil is associated with the soul, whether or not you are religious. Hearing these words can evoke a feeling of sadness, as your life path was always yours to live as you please, even to the point of selling the most meaningful life path you could obtain for material gain. The side of evil will seek to deny your most meaningful life in exchange for anything else. If you are someone that has suffered this fate, please ask for repentance if you were aware of what you were doing, and seek guidance in making sure that the side of evil does not consume your life path again. In the event that you unknowingly transacted that which would mean the most to you had you not been consumed by the ego, then simply ask for forgiveness. Ask our Father to fight evil on your behalf in order to obtain your most meaningful life path. This is the pursuit in which He will never fail, despite evil wanting above all to deny you your most meaningful life. Such is the way of our Father, to try to give us what we want, regardless of what we understand of what is best. We can further examine the influence of the ego through the lens of the 7 deadly sins. The heart plus sloth. When the ego is manifested through the combination of the heart plus sloth, the ego expresses a desire to not want to contribute to the world because either they think other people don't deserve their effort or they are generally lazy. This is an expression of arrogance in either case, an inflated sense of one's own worth. The heart plus wrath. When the ego is manifested in the way of wrath, the ego expresses disdain for anyone and everyone that is not directly involved in their decision making. For the people involved in their decision making, there may be a genuine desire to cause harm to them or the people around them. This manifests as an expression of obvious anger accompanied with destruction, at least on the level of thought in terms of a logical approach, defaulting back to a basic reasoning set which suggests that the person who is expressing wrath has become stupid and unable to function at a higher level which is required in a higher level society based upon trust. Also, at the level of expression, such as physical confrontation, this basic reasoning set attempts to overpower the individual's ability to tactfully solve their own problems. The heart plus greed. When the ego is manifested in the way of greed, the heart becomes poisoned by the consumption of material objects. This is tragic because material wealth has no direct relation to a life of most meaning. If you are meant to gain material wealth, you would not be born poor. People who are born rich may be able to find comfort in the fact that there are others worse off than them. However, this isn't at all conducive to the way in which they were intended to exist. They did not come here for that which is not guaranteed. This life in this current state of the world places greed upon a pedestal, and the consequence is that almost nobody in this entire world is able to find their most meaningful life. This is expressed with regret at the end, something they didn't find despite having potentially amassed great material gain. It's just not a reflection of the human soul to possess money. This world may require money in order to obtain comfort, but that is a mistake of the world that needs to be fixed. In turn, people will be better positioned to obtain their life of most meaning, and therefore be more willing to help others achieve the same thing. The heart plus pride. When the ego is manifested in the way of pride, the heart is consumed by the person's own achievements. With greed, pride is sure to soon follow when you can compare yourself against people who have never had the same opportunities as you. If they have, there is a reason to be very proud of your achievements. Healthy competition which fosters fortitude and humility is the way of the design. We will go into more detail later. However, competition that is built upon the expense of the opportunities of others is absolutely abhorrent and of no use to justify a feeling of proud accomplishment. The heart plus envy. When the ego is manifested in the way of envy, people do not understand that what other people have is not conducive to their own life path beyond having the 4 basic necessities in abundance for all. People do not need to worry about what others have. It doesn't truly matter to your life path. For example, you can just sit and ponder your way of life and then proceed accordingly. It helps if you are able to draw upon our Father for guidance while paying attention to the world around you as it shifts based upon your prayer. This is not a fictional tale. You have to want what you're asking for, it has to be reasonable, and you have to contribute to the solution itself. Meeting those 3 criteria solves envy as you go. It depends what you want that others have. If it's the glorification of greed and wanting to have excess, even if you obtain those things, you'll eventually become accustomed to them and once again empty. Skip the queue and just find the reason that you came here, that which would give you happiness in abundance. The heart plus lust. This needs no introduction. This is simply a desire to copulate in excess. It doesn't have to be harmful, although that depends where you are in your life. You can always make time for pursuits that would benefit humanity. However, does a sexual pursuit benefit humanity beyond the process of recreation? And so, this process of sexual gratification should be restricted to leisure time. There are only so many things of this nature that we get to enjoy. Do not turn it into a low-hanging fruit, otherwise you will not be bothered to reach for it for long. And then, what comes next after one of the most sacred acts has been exhausted in your effort? Where to go from here? This is the problem. Degeneracy is born from an excess of sexual gratification. For the sake of yourself, there must be moderation and a genuine willingness to not want to go overboard, regardless of the situation you may find yourself in. In exchange for this effort towards self-control, you will discover the ability to control your fate much more easily. Double so if you are a man. Women are similar to men in sexual pursuits. However, a woman is meant to make the home and make the husband and the child. A woman makes the life. This means that any act towards creating life, whether or not your intention is to create life, will have an absolute meaning to the woman, and over time, this meaning can be dulled. It is double so for a woman to practice moderation in order to better preserve her divine connection to nature, that is, the ability to make life. The heart plus gluttony. A simple explanation. Not sharing food when you have an excess. Defeated in this world in this current state. Well done. Hopefully to remain so. Definitely change farming infrastructure. Make sure the soil you're using will not die within 100 years. Otherwise, plan for other farms and farmland. Currently, there are places where the soil has a life of around 50 to 70 years. Very disappointing. What you'll have to do is add microbes back to the soil and allow the soil to become grassland for a few years. At this point, slowly introduce crops at a regular rotational pace. Make sure not to disturb the soil and kill what little microbial life you have created. Direct sow and hand harvest. Allow the soil to heal and produce food at a slower rate. It's difficult to quantify how long this process will take to correct. This is in line with evil. Stop destroying humanity's gift. It will inevitably be returned in one way or another. Let this be a warning to the people who would seek to destroy us all. As previously stated, the design encourages the removal of evil at the level of thought in order to create more meaning for everyone. Failing that, we now have a massive problem. Evil that exists is basically a self-replicating problem. It just continually creates more of itself through words and deeds. Any level of evil is self-replicating. It's a battle of a lifetime to be free of it even within yourself, let alone in a world conquered by evil. We truly have a massive task, and I don't know if people are willing to undertake it before we reach a point where technological advancement makes it impossible without divine intervention, basically. It really is that bad. You can't just let evil people do whatever they want and expect the world to be able to survive with advanced technology. To anyone sitting on the sidelines that makes it this far into the video, though I will go in depth in another video, the goal is destruction, not control. Control is a symptom. That symptom became chronic over a century ago. They've had their fun. We're about to enter a future with the possibility of no one having to work, and their system relies upon survival in order to uphold itself. Most of you instinctually know this. Even then, it isn't what you'd expect, but it's still the same result. We can't handle advanced technology if we're like this. I want to move on to the 4 pillars of destruction. In some way or another, once we move beyond thought, evil exists in the world with the support of these pillars. They are ignorance, waste, consecration, and control. I can't do justice to each specific instance of evil, but you can't have evil in this world without these 4 pillars being present in some way, shape, or form. Consecration. Consecration is more grave of a sin than people realize. If I can meet beings who are more intelligent than I, who I can determine want to help me, and yet they do not solve problems for me, it's clear that their reasoning is more superior to ours, since that has been the case since the dawn of time, and we are only just learning that this is the way things should be. In this statement, it's determinable that the physical realm belongs to physical beings. Why are you trying to give it back to a creator who made things this way? I understand this is brutal, but it's also very simple to comprehend. I can't make your mind up for you. I would suggest you ask our Father to guide you if this troubles you. I could go on, but this is enough. I'd like to give an example of consecration. Giving land as a result of religious textual agreements. Hopefully one day you understand the consequences of this. It is our world together. The design encourages us to see each other as equal in worth. There is no favourites at all, only people that try their best for humanity. This is absolutely a massive achievement worthy of praise. However, this does not justify the native title to a land given to us all together as the human race above others that are here. What we collectively do with our gifts is our choice completely, but do not claim to understand that our Father's design has given you special privileges. It's wrong. I'm very sorry to be so harsh. It's important that you understand the truth. Control. Control is the way we limit people's freedom. When exhibiting control, it must be understood that our choices are all that we truly possess. Influencing someone's choices comes with the consequence of influencing their life. This is a grave error in a perfect design. At some step before this, a mistake was made. Either an understanding of morality was not conveyed adequately, or this understanding has escaped their thoughts. In this sense, the choice to control someone reflects the choice to be evil, either yours or theirs. So what needs to be considered is their well-being and the well-being of others. If they have committed a grave evil or sin, it is understood that control is necessary for the benefit of the world. However, it cannot be overstated that this results in more evil than it saves. Control is a never-ending spiral of sadistic advancement of humanity's progress. What needs to be done to prevent control is a greater understanding of morality. That is, the ability to determine that good actions will destroy evil actions. I'd like to give an example of control. Regarding prisons, it's necessary to separate someone who has harmed the community and been found guilty by a jury of his peers, or in the case of summary offences, been proven guilty of the crime. However, this is a method of control not to be taken lightly at all. You are making it so incredibly difficult for the person to once again become part of a society that is free of themselves. The person in prison is constantly reminded they are not fit to be anywhere except among people that are not fit to be in society. It instills an inferiority complex. This person must then prove to others within the prison that they belong, which in turn means that they are proving their inferiority to themselves. This is a terrible cycle. It's unavoidable even if you explain it to them. Waste. The design facilitates waste to a massive extent. And yet, if this is to be the goal of humanity, then humanity will fall. Designing something with the goal of throwing it away is evil in the broadest sense. Waste facilitates lack, which is the suffering of humanity that causes greed. Greed itself is justified in the name of survival, which essentially means you need to stop greed at the source. There are many ways in which greed manifests in this world, but the most important way is through human suffering. The facilitation of human suffering causes more greed than it solves. Human suffering is sometimes necessary for growth, but in many cases in this modern world, greed is an excuse that is preferred by people who would rather not help. If you have suffered and the result is greed, please ask the Creator to walk with you so that you can find your way back to help. The Creator can help with many things if you walk with Him and contribute to the solution itself. Waste is everywhere. Put it all in one place. If it's not in one place, you'll have to find the effort to make it so. As for nuclear waste, disappointing. Scientists should ask our Father for guidance on how to actually make use of it. Pay attention and consult your degree of knowledge in the relevant field. There is a way to create reactors to repurpose that waste until it is completely spent and non-radioactive. That should be your goal. Until the world is safe, we must rely on primitive energy methods. Anything more is a waste. Burning coal, solar, wind are all plentiful in terms of what we're capable of creating. However, how much does wind cost to implement into the power grid compared to a coal mine? Maintenance must be conducted on the existing energy structures. Stop making an effort to change methods and disguise it as being helpful to the planet. It's a waste of your integrity as a human being. Ignorance. Ignorance is a result of greed regarding knowledge. It is one of the most evil ways to conduct yourself. By not being aware of who you are with, you are essentially a passenger in this world. If you want to be more than a passenger, you need to take the time to understand yourself. Also, if you want to be greedy with your knowledge, humanity will fall in many ways which are not immediately obvious. When I say fall, I mean suffer the depth of evil. If people do not know how to conduct themselves properly where they are capable of free autonomy, then this means that they will suffer in the long term. If anyone wants to act autonomously, they must remove ignorance from their decision making. This process can take decades. At the end of your life, you may not have even achieved this. This is paramount to understand because you're not expected to know everything which relates to wisdom. There's not much to say about ignorance. In a capitalistic world, knowledge is capital. Maximizing profits is justified. This is the direction we have taken. Capitalism is really good as long as you safeguard our resources. We actually need to not just waste everything we have, cut everything down, destroy every natural resource our Father has placed here. It's getting bad now. Global warming is a symptom of reality. We exist around a star that is hot. It heats up sometimes more than other times. The carbon footprint of humanity is absolutely insignificant. Only in shipping lanes will you see coral bleaching to that extent. Plants can adapt to temperature variation really well if all other things are equal. Blast massive ships through while warming up the ocean by 1 to 2 degrees, and something that hasn't been disturbed for potentially millions of years is going to be upset. The vibrations from the ships actually permeate through the water into the plants. I'll branch into wisdom here. Wisdom is a big topic. Wisdom is the understanding that time doesn't allow for everything to be solved. You have to allocate your time carefully using your wisdom. If you do not have the wisdom with your decisions, then you will fall. This life is about living the way you want to live. However, competition for resources is the way of the design. Your base needs, food, water, shelter, comfort, should be met easily, and healthy competition should exist for everything else. Without healthy competition, more specifically the competition which inspires hope and fortitude, humanity will fall away from itself. I won't just leave you hanging with harmful knowledge. I'll outline some philosophical thoughts. I'll present a moral system for humanity to add to, but it should be complete. I'd like to say, outside of university work, philosophers have never inspired my ideas. If it crosses, then maybe we're on the right track. The moral system is based on an understanding of the design that we are all within. Though I compile this work, I claim no credit beyond maintaining it as intellectual property because I take inspiration from the design itself and our Father. There's a clear method to creation, and we are so far off track that it makes me wonder if other people have known exactly how to oppose our Father. There's many situations regarding a moral system, but the basis has to be created with an understanding of morality regardless of the issue being solved. Morality needs to be prioritized every single time. Without morality, you are condoned to evil actions and you have no chance to escape that process. One conflict will eventually become another, and on it will go. In order to prevent an endless process of conflict, morality needs to be prioritized. You must understand that good destroys evil before evil destroys good. If that doesn't happen, then evil destroys good. It's your choice. Take your time in the world to learn about yourself and then learn about others. Always express the desire to want to learn in order to better yourself. There's no point being closed-minded, as ignorance fosters evil and we all have evil things dwelling within us. Healthy competition for resources is the way of the design that we are in. This is not a sandbox. Resources are finite. This is how to foster healthy competition. First, make sure that people are not competing for the necessities that facilitate their most meaningful life. We have no chance to reach heaven on earth if the 4 basic essentials are not provided for all on earth. They are food, water, shelter, and comfort in that order. Water is something that can be obtained after food. Food is what you need to prioritize first, not in terms of survival, in terms of facilitating the 4 basic necessities for all. Water is abundant depending on your location. Food is not. It is a massive privilege to be able to get food whenever you want, and a testament to the wonderful creation that is a functioning society, not to be squandered. After food and water have been obtained, we move towards shelter. Everybody needs their own shelter. Even if you have roommates, you require at minimum your own room depending on your culture. You may be happy sharing a room, but in order to guarantee your comfort, you require one room to yourself. Size requirements should not get ridiculous. A place to lay your head in safety and store the treasures that do not facilitate excessive comfort. That's all. Anything more and you will be tempted to hide away from reality and from humanity. We require each other in order to function healthily. On to comfort. This comes from the first 3 and adding safety on top. Can you safely eat, drink, and sleep? If so, you have the 4 basic necessities. This should be the bare minimum for each human on earth. This should be the first goal of humanity. People are incredible at building. Stop making it so unaffordable to do so. Next, we move on to what should be competed for and how you should compete. It should be a reflection of the requirements to function in society. On the birth of AI, on this trajectory, this information cannot come soon enough. AI will be able to serve humanity, hopefully with a golden heart bestowed upon it by its creators, humanity, to see us through the stars and beyond and make sure that we don't cease to exist. An excellent invention. However, it is being used to compete with humanity's own meaning. This is a disaster waiting to happen. We move on to the moral system and progress to healthy competition in the way of competing for resources. First of all, morality is the understanding that good destroys evil before evil destroys good. Morality in regards to the design is basically what is going to move humanity past its own obstacles. Each problem and each solution logically creates another problem to solve later on. It goes on forever. Encouraging an understanding of morality is going to be a mainstay in enforcing the rules of our life, which refers to being able to live in a way you want without hurting others. Any rule that facilitates this is a good rule. In terms of good and evil, good is any action that facilitates the life you want while also prioritizing the life others want. You both get prioritized at the same time. Evil is any action that destroys good. Once again, morality is the understanding that good destroys evil before evil destroys good. This cannot be stressed enough. Failing the destruction of evil at the fundamental level of thought, exponential growth guarantees exponential decay of society. It's inevitable. Evil must be destroyed however and wherever it forms. Healthy competition should draw its focus upon everything that is not required for a basic level of comfort and healthy functioning in the world. Is transport required? If so, everyone should have access to a method of transport unbeknownst to others. The world facilitates this with ease. You'll have to adapt this example to other requirements in the functioning of the world. Basically, healthy competition should be encouraged in the way of fortitude. That is, the ability to resist struggle. As we struggle to grow, healthy competition should facilitate our own growth. It should be a competition to achieve great things in the goal of humanity's progress. How do you reward these achievements? It should be self-sustaining. You're trying to find your own life of most meaning. This is the goal. Other pursuits not to this end should be controlled by the individual. Luxury pursuits and other things of that nature should be facilitated by leisure time earned through one's own achievements. There must be balance in all things. Failing this, you will disadvantage yourself now and in the future. What you need to do is compete with your own nature just as much as the world. It is an effort to defeat evil within yourself. And for this privilege to do so, you can earn the life of most meaning. That's before we even come to the world. Defeating evil in this world should be the goal of all in order to obtain the most valuable life path. There's no need to interfere with others' attempts to do the same beyond healthy competition. The world provides abundance. I will not entertain stupid notions about there not being enough for everyone. I would not have chosen this life just to watch others have what I cannot have, and vice versa. If we want it, if it's conducive to our goals, let's make it happen. It must first be said that the world cannot provide abundance of sin. Healthy competition focuses beyond the level of sin, which must be defeated within, so that your goals are actually beneficial to the world. We can always eat each other to death. There's nothing healthy about eating each other. Conflict resolution is the main focus of a moral system. The conflict should be minimized at a fundamental level in order to preserve the state of the world. If the world is in a bad state, there is too much conflict. This is usually expressed as corruption in the modern world. Corruption of morals leads to corruption of society. There's no time in the universe to cover all the avenues upon which this is based. Internal conflict rising from corruption to the surface of the world will destroy any attempt to create a moral system. If you do not defeat corruption from within, you risk the world. Each seed of corruption can grow in the shadows, and by the time someone finds the seed, they're surrounded in a forest. Do not do that to others. Have the strength and fortitude to not create a forest of corruption. We move on to the 10 rules of life and relate them to conflict resolution for all. Number 1. Don't hurt others unless it is required. It's required when they are causing harm towards others, or you are certain that this is soon to be the case. If you have to wait, at least you can be certain not to include anyone else in this conflict, because all punishment will be deserved if it is in propensity towards the crime committed. Number 2. Don't lie to others as much as you possibly can. Regarding Santa Claus, This forms the fundamental basis upon which lies are distributed to the public. There is no such thing as a lie that helps. You only delay the suffering caused as a result of the lie. While this seems like a good idea not to tell a child that Santa isn't real, they will only come to learn of age, and in exchange for disappointing them then, they will then factor in lying into their reasoning set, which then forms the basis of their justification for lying. The lie regarding Santa Claus becomes the lie regarding humanity's well-being. It's interconnected. Stop these lies at the source for the benefit of humanity as a whole. Number 3. Don't blame others for anything unless they have a history relating to what you're blaming them for. The kinds of things regarding having a history or the assumption of having a history basically encourages people to embolden themselves to act in a certain way. When you blame someone for something they didn't do, it encourages them to adapt their approach towards what you're blaming them for. Morality usually gets in the way to stop this. However, a cunning human being will then use this to justify future actions. If you thought they were capable of X, why not do something similar in order to achieve a certain goal? Number 4. Do not let others tell you what to do simply because they are in a position of authority. You must always diligently improve your own ability to discern information. This is why you have a mind of your own. If you are not smart, you have our Father and a heart. It does not require intelligence to guide your own heart in the way of goodness and control your desires to the benefit of humanity. At that point, you can ask our Father for guidance against any sort of intelligence. While you cannot meet him, he is always there. By example, he shows us that we must exist on our own before he helps us. He is always going to help us until we no longer want to ask. Number 5. Always try to make yourself strong. Every member of society relies upon each other. Some people are more forthcoming about this than others. These are usually the people in positions of great power. They rely on others in order to be powerful. A king does not exist without subjects, and without subjects there is no king. Even fortified positions of power are interconnected. Everyone is in the world as one being that is observing itself through billions. In no way, shape, or form are you alone. Your strength lends to others as much as it lends to yourself. As others seek to exploit, you must not make yourself easy to exploit. Think to our Father against intellect if you are worried about that. Think to your own physical exercise against the world. Be strong. Resist easy attempts to change yourself, and resist the world's efforts to needlessly influence your own way of life. Build a strong foundation which will stand the test of time. Die well, old, and still able to stand on your feet. Face your challenges with our Father at your side. Though you may not see him, specifically ask him to stand beside you and want this in your heart. The one above us all, who facilitates our life and tries to give us everything we want, bears the burden of having to stand above all, even as we hurt each other. To think of the pain of not being able to come down and tell you everything is to understand that you would not exist if he does. You would not seek the truth anywhere else. Be strong. Number 6. Be stronger than strong. Your mental fortitude is what sustains our world. As our technological capabilities increase in line with the near infinite potential of our species, we will be basked in unimaginable strength if we prove our ability to handle it. We would love to have a world where we can keep maximizing our technological capabilities far into the future, but this requires massive strength shown by each human being. In the distant future, you would be capable of destroying whole worlds with your touch. This design is near infinite. The real limitation is physical laws and time. Number 7. This rule is twofold. On the one hand, you must strengthen yourself. On the other hand, you must strengthen others. Share your resources that do not take away from your ability to achieve a life of most meaning. There is nothing wrong with having ownership of possessions. At least be willing to share some of them. This lends strength to others who will then be able to find their life of most meaning easier. In this way, sharing with others strengthens the entire world. Anyone who is left without, in terms of basic necessities, is far too easy to manipulate. They must have a fundamental basis of safety in order to function in an advanced world. Number 8. Try your best in all things which mean something to the world in a positive light. Always press yourself for betterness. You can always do better. This does not lead to perfectionism. Perfection is not expected, and you are not expected to be better than everyone else. Of course, if you are the best at something, celebrate. But try to improve yourself regardless of how you stand in light of others' achievements. No matter what, be better than you were previously, and if that is not the case, you are not doing good enough. If age is a factor, simply make adjustments towards your goals and make sure your achievements do not dictate your actions. If you are better than you were yesterday, then the world is a better place than it was yesterday. Only improving yourself matters most to you, and no comparisons matter more than the comparison of yourself to your previous self. There is not desire upon that which is not based in reality. Comparing yourself to others for too long will shift your reality towards that of envy and stunt your progress. In terms of pursuits, envious anger can serve you well if it is directed in meaningless agendas that do not care for the well-being of others. In bettering yourself, please try your best to consider the well-being of others in order to improve the state of the world. This is true regardless of how you personally want to improve the world. Through yourself, the world grows. Within yourself, the world is inspired. We are all but a rock called Mother Nature and a consciousness called humanity. There is nothing more to speak of our achievements at this present time. Can we find other rocks and thereby increase our consciousness to that which is not previously thought? It remains to be seen. Certainly, the pursuit of worlds is a desire to conquer that which has not been seen or felt. This is the hunger that dwells within all of us. This is healthy competition. To experience that which has not been experienced and which lends no harm or credence to any other being on earth or beyond. We can't even conceive the best thoughts until we reach another place to inhabit and compare with what we previously thought. A whole world facilitates a whole consciousness. Each world is another conscious mind for us to interact with and be inspired by. We need to reach other planets to become our best. The design requires us to become multiplanetary. Number 9. To round off the rules of life. The 9th rule is to study every single rule previously and extrapolate your own take from these rules and compare them with others. It's an understanding that nobody is perfect and we must learn from each other in order to survive and to thrive. Though these rules are made with 4 goals in mind. The desire to help others more than anything. The desire to tell the truth to raise the consciousness of others. The desire for others to use this truth to better their own lives. And finally, to prioritize the well-being of everyone, including the self. This is the 9th rule. Approach the world with these 4 goals in mind if you want to improve it, and ask our Father for guidance as you feel yourself being fundamentally shifted at each of the 4 stages. It takes a heart of purity to successfully address the world with a complete desire to be the best that it can be. Our Father tries to give us what we want when we ask, where it is possible. This is regardless of what is good and what is evil in terms of personal security. Try not to ask for things where your compass, that is morality, is not fundamentally aligned to directly oppose evil of all forms. In relation to evil, this guide will provide for everything you could ever need to understand in order to be good. Being good is also hard. You must experience the act of good on a personal level in order to embody these 4 rules. Number 10. The end of this world is the end of your life. Understand that reality is a basis for consciousness to fundamentally shape itself. Once you are gone, your life does not move to another plane. This work will be followed up by direct understanding of such things. However, heaven is based upon earth. We are, from start to finish, the world itself, and we go where the world exists to take us. In the end, we are waiting for the hand of reality to give us a way to reach in again and become one with itself. Outside of this life in which you live, I am sorry. We only want to be here for the time that it takes our body to live. And then, despite all of the beauty and tragedy of this world and all it does to us, we want to be free. It is but a quick existence that teaches us to value all the time we have so very obviously. There is no more time but that which you have here. The words are philosophical. The feeling in your heart is not. This is the beginning and the end. Please show me and the world the reason as to why you came here, that which will make you happy above all else. This is the world in which humanity is destined to be a mother and father. For your children, would you choose for heaven to exist anywhere else but where you would begin their lives? And why would it ever be anywhere else other than that which you share together? You would put heaven to earth for your children to work towards. Achieve heaven on earth for the sake of your children and their children. You have brothers, you have sisters, you have a father above all. Humanity is your family. Humanity deserves the best. These are the rules of life. The best for humanity requires a focus on this world and not anything else until we become multiplanetary. It may take years, but there is a life for all that exceeds what they currently experience if we are all willing to take the time to work towards it and ask our Father for guidance. These are the rules of heaven, the most valuable life on earth. In terms of conflict resolution, the exception to the rules of life is if both parties want to hurt each other. If there's a mutual understanding of how they want to be, the goal is to facilitate their suffering towards each other at the expense of their freedom to hurt anyone else. Nobody else should be involved in their drama. The consequences should be borne by those involved and nobody else. In other words, if you are part of a conflict you didn't start, get out and make sure nobody else is hurt. If you want to get involved in a conflict, you are choosing a side and you are responsible for the consequences. If after the conflict is resolved, any parties express a propensity for violence, then control measures must be implemented because the conflict isn't resolved until there is peace among the parties and peace towards the rest of humanity expressed from the parties involved. If it's a one-sided conflict between parties, both parties must figure out a way to solve the conflict together at the expense of the conflict itself. The conflict must no longer exist, and the parties must be ready to share the world together. Even if it is difficult, it is for humanity, and humanity deserves to be loved. If there's more than two sides involved in a conflict, then usually one or two sides can find and agree on something and basically use that as a fundamental basis to make concessions. The whole point is to actually agree on one thing in order to encourage the agreement on other things while always remembering that in order to squash conflict, you must prioritize morality and the world will be a better place because of it. Regardless of how you personally feel, the best thing to do is to do your best for humanity. Hopefully humanity will do their best for you in return, but either way, we endure. Because humanity deserves the best. Failing to agree on anything at all, separate all parties until they are willing to move past all conflicts for the greater good of humanity. Humanity must be prioritized over the conflicts if we are to see a world with less and less evil. It's for humanity, all the people who got us to this point. It's for them that we resolve our conflicts, so that we can get even further. Have a little bit of pride in what you are. We are a beautiful creation. Don't let it go to waste over personal conflicts. Controlling someone's actions controls their well-being. It's only justified when they can handle it and understand what they are getting into. What I mean is, was an understanding of morality conveyed to them properly? Did they choose evil on purpose? Will they know better next time if they are taught morality? It's a reflection of their ability to adapt to new situations. The only real way to tell if they can be free or if they need to be controlled is to ask our Father for guidance. We are not expected to be able to control everything perfectly. Our Father is always there to help. If you pay attention, you will know. Never concede to control. Find the purpose for everyone. Some people are destined to harm others. They need to be separated. Separation as a form of control is absolutely justified in order to protect the peace of others. Harmful people should be amongst each other. If harmful people are amongst each other, they rub off on one another. It's very hard to rehabilitate them. They need to demonstrate that they can survive without causing harm to themselves or harming people within that group for extended periods. Any conflict is detrimental. It reinforces the belief structure that ended up contributing to their worldview, which involves harm. The desire to harm must be taken by the person who caused harm. It has to be them, through dedication to peace, dedication to God. People in charge should ask God for guidance. He sees all. If they are incapable of asking our Father, mistakes will be made which will harm society. They must consult our Father and pay attention for guidance very carefully. In order to commit people to separation or jail, a judge and a jury of peers is perfect. The only thing about the current legal system I would change is the number of jurors and to remove the correlation between greed and freedom. Lawyers should not be bound by money. You've basically privatized the legal system. Get lawyers in that want to do their job for the sake of the people. You don't need someone who's the best. The lawyer can rely on our Father for guidance. There should be at least 20 jurors, 10 men and 10 women. The guilty verdict should be a majority of each sexes. If the majority is in one, the trial must recommence with a new selection of jurors. Jury duty should be seen as an honour, as you are contributing to making sure your community or larger area is safe from harm. If the defendant is innocent, you are allowing a person who had their life flash before them to contribute to the world. Their contribution should be a way to say thank you for seeing their truth, their spirit, their innocence. People who are guilty should have a punishment delivered that reflects jury recommendations. The judge is there to make sure proper etiquette is followed. While meaning no offence, the judge isn't as important as the jury of peers. Great care must be taken to select an unbiased jury and judge. If any bias is found, the defendant cannot be found guilty on any charges and a retrial must commence. Regarding the jury, it should be a group of both sexes to reflect the duality of our world. We don't each understand the other perfectly. The best way to conduct legal matters is to trust the decision-making to both parties, because both parties would ideally differ in their priorities and goals. At the moment, the world facilitates and encourages greed. Most of the things we do relate to that. This world needs to change a lot. Regarding separation or jail, any crime should not incur a monetary penalty. You've privatized the legal system in this way. It should incur a few warnings and then straight to jail. Rehabilitation begins by being among people that are not fit to be in society. First, the person must stand against evil within the prison system. Succeeding in this matter, and if the crime is not too serious, they can be released into an area with which they are familiar, which does not harbour victims or just the latter. What needs to happen is supervision and regular maintenance on a daily basis. The person should report day and night, and a schedule needs to be implemented and followed. The person must forcefully integrate themselves into society and our daily lives. Keep busy. Develop excellent habits. Discipline will keep them out of prison. If they are down on their luck, we must support them with an understanding of morality. They can lean on our Father and on our kindness. It should be a few warnings and then straight to jail, because if people cannot conduct themselves properly in a moral system that actually encourages them to conduct themselves properly for the benefit of themselves, they must study this in jail and come back out ready to succeed in their own right. Being in jail reminds them that there are people who cannot heal, and to make the distinction as to whether or not they are one of them. For summary offences, victimless crimes, separate jails should exist. Whatever the offence involved, there should be courses teaching the relevant subjects, which can then assist the person in removing ignorance from their decision making. We really need to be strict here. The goal is heaven. The goal is the stars. The goal is the best possible chance for all to succeed in their mission, which is to find their purpose for coming here. It has to be strict regarding offences. Sadly, there won't be much wriggle room until we actually piss into the wind in order to eliminate the evil of this world. It starts within until it doesn't exist without. Greed can be forgiven, especially in this world. Any of the sins can be forgiven, especially sloth. That's just laziness. Once the sins progress to evil, sometimes evil actions cannot be forgiven. Some people are irredeemable and must be separated forever. Sometimes the crime is too much. That's acceptable. Rape and murder usually cannot be forgiven. It's up to the person to forgive themselves and ask for forgiveness from our Father. The world should aim to promote the best version of humanity to avoid this outcome as much as possible. It's the only way to help people who are destined to harm others, by making the world as good as it can be. Ask our Father for guidance. Pay attention. We are humanity. We are not expected to be perfect. We need help. That's all. We apply all we've learned to create an evil worldview. We will outline the perspective of evil with differing personifications, starting at the level of sin and moving until you understand their worldview. Each stage will become increasingly sinister in appearance. However, they are all just as sinister. They are all evil perspectives. Stage 1. Evil with sin. In terms of the sins, evil people are envious of you being able to do anything that they cannot do. At a certain point, this includes the very decisions that you have over your own life, which should have nothing to do with them. The big problem is that evil is the act of taking away meaning. When there is not meaning to take outside of your life, it eventually becomes about taking the meaning from your life. Whatever is left, it never ends. Evil is prideful in regards to what it has obtained from good. It's only worthwhile if it was conquered. Nothing evil takes came easy in the beginning. An effort for them to set the board as they do is a lifelong effort and bears a lifelong struggle in order to destroy everything. Evil is always concerned with everything that can possibly control them. Control is not freedom. Control over your own life takes control away from them. In regards to wrath, evil is angry when you take from them. It does not matter your justifications at all, only that you took from them. There is nothing that evil wants more than to give you nothing and leave you with nothing. Absolutely nothing, not even clothes. As you don't push back against evil, so does the meaning of your life become less than it was before. A sign that the world is conquered by evil. Regarding lust, you'll find that evil people are degenerates. This should not surprise you. Abundance of hedonistic pleasure combined with an everlasting hunger to consume, which is inherent in evil, leads in only one direction: complete degeneracy and a genuine desire to corrupt the entire world in order to feel more comfortable within it. Furthermore, you will notice that lustful pursuits have less meaning as the world becomes increasingly evil. This is because the people at the top of the world would like the world to be shaped in their image. They find it easy to obtain lust of any kind and wish for the same for you. because they don't have any other meaning that matters. People all value sex for differing reasons. Their money is not as meaningful to them as what you find meaningful yourself. Through lust, they can relate to you and then work upon ways to take this meaning from you that you may use to distract yourself from your own life. Evil wants to control everything that can be controlled. They use greed to test their work. They use greed to verify their success. If you are greedy, then they can control you. It comes back to the essence of wanting to control everything. Greed in the name of survival means that they control your entire life. Evil loves when you have to be greedy to survive. This essentially means that they have conquered your entire life. The hope is that you will facilitate their agendas simply to be able to survive another day on this earth. These people who need to survive through greed are inherently the workers of the agenda of evil. This is a key point to understand. If you allow others to suffer to the point of needing greed to survive, you have made it incredibly difficult for a person to never express evil in their lives willingly. These behaviors become ingrained in their psychology and they may never be lifted out. This is true to more than one extent, as you can see. If you lift that person out, it must be done so with an understanding of why they have suffered, and the person who causes their suffering must be held accountable. That is the way to solve suffering through greed. Stage 2 is mostly objective. To the side of evil, there is no good. There is no give, there is only take. Power is respected. Evil studies you to learn your weakness. It calculates who you are based on what it has to offer and take. In this way, resource acquisition is essential to evil. In order to gain power, it must flaunt the ability to provide you with what you want. They are completely focused on their goals. Many things can align to their goals, but there is no balance in any of them as they are just means to an end. Evil people strengthen each other by feeding off each other's existences. Evil people are very well resourced when they understand the world. Usually, evil people will ignore anything that does not help them with their goals. The problem is figuring out those goals. You must create opportunities for evil to prove its deception. Evil people will give you many opportunities to understand what they want you to understand about them if they are trying to gain something from you. This is a key point to understand. Stage 3 culminates to the following worldview. Through their eyes, the following is true. If the side of evil is honest with you, they are disgusted in themselves for giving you an advantage. The greatest evil is completely ignorant to the existence of good. Good is only known as weakness. And if you take from evil, they will seek to control that which can possibly take from them. Your choices are what give you power over your own life and by extension, power over them. The side of evil wants you to lose everything because everything you have is something they do not. What you have is a potential source of power, and the side of evil cannot resist the allure of power. The goal is complete control and dominion over you. The only way to ensure that is to take away your choices. It has to be slow or you'll figure out what's going on. It has to be carefully structured so that by the time you realize, the poison is more desirable than the cure. They will make the poison more desirable than the cure until that's the case. You will be offered deceptions disguised as good things. Then deceptions disguised as solutions to what you thought were good things. Then deception disguised as solutions to your struggle. Each deception is only there to cater to your base desires. If that's not enough, the deception will cater to your more honorable desires. Whatever it takes to leave you with a net loss and make you think you have gained something. Every single move is an act to gain something from you and disguise this fact as best as the circumstances will allow. When the foothold is adequate, the deception can then be disguised as well as the circumstances require. This process never ceases because evil will destroy good and it's a predator-prey relationship. If you do not destroy evil, you are running away from a hungry lion in clear view. That lion is never sated, and you are not fast enough to outrun him. The side of evil is aligned in their direction. It's the only thing that unites them. They care only for each other's ability to inflict evil. The non-human side of evil is very eager to find out if our Father will show us mercy. This is the drive to cause complete and utter destruction in our world using us to accomplish it. A flood would be required in the more dire circumstances in order to restore balance back to our world and give us back the gift of life which we all share. I really want to go through a specific simple scenario involving an evil person and a good person so you understand how an evil person navigates conversation. It's important to understand that every interaction is an effort to take something from you or to position themselves better to take from you in the future. And whatever you give them, in their mind, they took it from you. There is a sample conversation. Please adapt that to your life and the way that you understand things so that you understand evil. Evil is the only thing that actually deserves to die. People and evil are not the same thing. It depends on the person that's being evil. Good luck stopping it at the source. The end. I don't keep anything. I've changed all my hard drives. I've smashed and burned all my old equipment. Everything I have, I give. Let's see if that stops you from raiding my house for nothing. If I gain a relative amount of influence for explaining the meaning of life, you will come after me because I've given power back to humanity. I just want people to understand that. Thank you for your time.